Startup grind is very beneficial for youngsters like us trying to start our businesses. Been coming out for quite some time now.
Startup Grind is a fantastic initiative for young emerging entrepreneurs to get to network, to get to meet each other and know each other, and it gives people a platform that they otherwise wouldn't have to get to network and find out about each other's businesses.
It's a great platform for people who are starting up and also for people who want to grow in businesses and stuff.
Welcome to Startup Grind. Give him a hand again. So, normally here at Startup Grind, we always, sorry about that. We always start with your background. Where you were born, where you grew up. You grew up in Soweto. How was it growing up there?
Growing up in Soweto was amazing. I was born I'm a child in the 70s, so you can imagine I was there in 1976 during the uprisings, terrible 80s in Soweto. But it was happiness in a time of apartheid in South Africa. But I had a great time. I had an amazing childhood and a great family. But it was tough. In Soweto in the 80s.
Yeah.
So anyone who's read about June 1976, state of emergency in 86, knows that it was tough. For any youngster growing up in Soweto in the 70s and 80s, it was a very tough time to be growing. We were called the lost generation. We were not supposed to make it. Arrested in 85, young people throwing stones. So it was tough, but I have no regrets, and I had a happy childhood.
Yeah. And family, which schools did you go to? Which university did you go to?
So family, I have a brother, I have a sister. Both parents are alive.
Yes.
My mom celebrated her birthday just the other day,
Oh, okay.
the 27th. I went to school most of my life in Soweto. I studied at the AAA School of Advertising, just up the road here in Rosebank. I was at Wits Business School. I got a master's in commerce. I went to Harvard. I went to INSEAD. You want more?
If there's more, you can.
No, look, I've been privileged to be given the opportunities over the years, sponsored by the company that I work for, to study at some of the best institutions. So I was privileged to go to Wits. I was privileged to go to Harvard Business School. I was privileged to study at INSEAD, just outside of Paris. And I was privileged to be given the opportunity by the companies that I work for to be mentored and groomed when I was in corporate.
Wow, amazing. We're going to talk more about Harvard later and all the other your educational background later. I don't know, you started your career in media. So you used to be a celebrity back in the days. He still is, right? Yeah. So you started your career at Metro FM, right?
No.
Wait.
No, it's a myth, and I hope today I'll verify it. It's a myth. I was on the radio as a part-time DJ on a Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
It was never a full-time job. I was actually in sales and marketing Monday to Friday. I had a full-time job.
Okay.
But in South Africa, when you're on the radio, that's how people get to know you.
It is, yeah.
So it was just, pocket money.
Okay.
And for Saturdays and Sundays, look, I love radio. I'm going to say it's just pocket money, but it's my first love. And but I was on the radio on Saturdays and Sundays. I had a full-time job Monday to Friday. But media is still my first love, and people know me from Metro. I still get people asking me, when are you coming back on the radio? I've been on the radio for over 20 years.
Would you ever consider
No. I was bad at it. I was very bad at it. But I still have a lot of people asking me, when are you going back on the radio? No. It was just passion and love for the medium, but that's not what I really wanted to do with my career.
Your passion for radio, is that the reason why you went on to become a marketing manager and a station manager? at one of the radio stations?
Well, you know, at 26 I was fortunate to be appointed the youngest station manager for the biggest commercial radio station at the time, Metro FM. And I was really punching above my weight. You know, the job was advertised.
Okay.
I was a marketing manager then. And I was on the radio. I knew a lot about radio. And I applied for the role.
You got it.
And I went in there, and it was a tough panel. It included people like Bani Mtomboti. I had a presentation. So I said to the panel, look, I don't think I'm qualified for the job.
Yeah.
But will you allow me to present my strategy on what we could do to turn around the station? And you'd recall at the time that there was an introduction of a lot of regional radio stations, YFM and many others just launched. And so I made a presentation to the panel, and to my surprise, they gave me the job.
Wow. Okay.
And the rest is history.
Okay. And then, from how long did you stay in the media industry for?
So I spent more than 10 years in the media industry, both radio and television. I moved from radio, and I was given another opportunity to run SABC One, and I was involved with television. And I love the medium of television. It's a very powerful medium.
Yes.
I was there for just about 3 years. And so I spent the better part of my early career in radio and television.
And I've read that you are quite passionate about monetizing the entertainment industry, and hence you've been the station manager, and you've been helping the station actually pick up, especially in the marketing department as well. How do you make sure that somebody gets into the entertainment industry not for the fame, but for the money side of it as well? Not only just for being famous. Somebody who is probably interested in getting into the entertainment industry.
It's a tough business, as many people know. I don't particularly like the media industry.
Okay.
The margins are too low. It's a tough business. I like the business of entertainment. And I really enjoyed the business of running television and radio.
Yeah.
A lot of people see the glamour side of entertainment. They see the celebrities on Twitter, and things have changed a lot. I mean, I'm too old now. There's Twitter, there's Facebook, and the rest, and the digital media has taken over. But it's a tough business. The business side of running a radio station, a television network, a content business is very, very tough. You do it out of passion, out of love, and hopefully along the way you can make money. But there are not many people out there, particularly in South Africa, who are making a lot of money out of media.
What are they?
Newspapers are going through a tough time. You just have to look at the circulation figures. Facebook and the digital media is taking over. So when you look at Facebook, Instagram, I think last year Facebook and Google took about 80% of all advertising revenue in the US. That's huge.
Yeah.
And so any other business, whether you're in television, you're in radio, in newspapers, you'd be battling for that advertising dollar. So it's really a tough business. And if you're not digital, you might as well close shop tomorrow.
Yeah. But what are some of the mistakes that you think people are doing wrong when they get into that industry?
Look, I mean, now it's all about personalization. You personalize the media. When you listen to radio stations right now, when you consume content, it's about you, and you have to personalize any of the content that's been generated out there. I mean, you've heard about consumer-generated content. Facebook is all about you generating the content and making Mark a billionaire. And Instagram, you love posting, but you're making somebody else a billionaire.
Yeah.
Because it's your content. You're generating the content. The selfies and everything.
Yeah.
Your content. Somebody else is selling advertising, making money out of you.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have to find ways to commoditize your content. I'm not really a media specialist, but
Yes,
I mean, I think that's and you've got to be digital. I mean, everything is digital now, so you just have to look at the other businesses that don't have a digital strategy. They're struggling.
Okay. I want to talk about when you joined Vodacom, and you've been with Vodacom for a while. You've been with Vodacom for a while. You were with them for a while.
Over 10 years.
10 years. And how did that come about? How did you get to join Vodacom?
So, if you think about it, about more than 10 years ago, we were all talking about the convergence of media and telecoms. And so, a lot of young people, I don't think you remember that at the time, Vodacom were thinking of getting television at the going to apply for a television license. And so I joined Vodacom 2004. And soon after, I was transferred to Tanzania, and so I was given an opportunity to be CEO of Vodacom Tanzania, and I spent almost three years living in Dar es Salaam and running Vodacom in Dar es Salaam. Came back to South Africa, and I was appointed commercial director in the Vodacom SA business. And my last role was CEO of the international business, so I was looking after all the businesses outside of South Africa, which is about 20% of the business of the entire group of Vodacom. And then I became an entrepreneur, just like most people here, about 2 years ago.
You were telling me earlier on that you're more of an investor than an entrepreneur.
Oh yes, I mean, so my background has been more than 20 years in corporate, and I'm not really an entrepreneur. So there are a lot of guys here who are better entrepreneurs. I'm more of an investor than an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Really, I can't claim to have started a business and sold it for R1 billion. But I invest in businesses. So we're a venture capital company, and we look for opportunities to invest in great businesses that we can help grow, inject capital, invest into entrepreneurs that are making things happen, that need expertise and access to market.
What actually attracts you to this entrepreneurs that you invest in? What do you look for first before you decide that you want to invest in this particular business? Can you guys hear me? No. Can I just use the other microphone? Oh, you can hear me now. I was asking you, you can't hear me. They can't hear me. You can hear me now, please. I wanted to ask, what do you look for when you decide that this is the type of business that you want to invest in?
That question asked a lot of times when I was on Shark Tank. Look, we generally look for 3 or 4 things. The first one is we invest in people, so we invest in entrepreneurs. But I like investing in teams. So I look for the team dynamic. You've got to be a great team. If it's one person, then it's got to be somebody that knows exactly what they're doing, passionate, with a great idea. But it's strong management. So we look for strong management. We look for people who are commercial. So you have to understand your numbers. You have to know your business, sales, marketing, distribution, access to market. And thirdly, if there's a technical element, particularly in tech, there has to be somebody who understands the tech. And then lastly, it's got to be a scalable business, because we're looking for growth. So we're not going to invest in businesses that are, just struggling along. If we put in money, there's got to be, 10x. In 5 years, there's going to be, 10 times the growth that we've invested. So those are the kind of general, criteria that we use when we invest in entrepreneurs.
Awesome. I'm going to chat to you more about Shark Tank. Before I do that, I just want to know if you guys have any questions for Romeo. Okay. Just mention your name and your question.
Good evening. My name is Tabo. I'm from Toys with Roots. Toyswithroots.co.za. I wanted to ask, in line with the investing, when you do invest in a business, what's your involvement? I mean, do you guys want daily operations management or just an oversight as an investor?
Look, it depends. Generally, we don't have the bandwidth to get involved with just about every single business that we invest in. Of course, when you're a startup, you require a lot more involvement, holding hands in terms of expertise and skills, helping you with access to market. And of course, we bring in both smart capital, what I call smart capital. So both the capital and the expertise to assist to grow your business. But it really depends on the life cycle of the business. If you're in the growth phase, we obviously get a lot more involved.
Are you answered?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do we have another question? Okay, you can start with him here, because he's present.
Hi, good evening, Romeo. I'm Dave from Sniper, South Africa. Sniper, yeah.
Okay.
The app for
Security app.
Oh, security.
Security, yeah.
Oh, okay.
My question is with regards to your involvement in businesses within Africa. Do you get involved in a lot of businesses with African reach or African strategy rather?
So I love businesses that are looking beyond South Africa. I think Africa is a huge market. I've traveled extensively on the African continent. And a lot of entrepreneurs talk about Silicon Valley, you're the next unicorn, but I mean, you have to start here at home and be successful here at home. And so I think that if you can conquer the South African market and then look at the rest of the continent, I mean, here's a huge market. You've got Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria is a huge market, Ethiopia is massive. So, we've been conditioned to think about Silicon Valley and the US when actually there's a huge market on the African continent. And in fact, there's a lot of international investors that are coming into the continent and building infrastructure. Google is building massive infrastructure. And so I think that you've got to start local and be successful here first. And so I love the continent. Yeah, I love the continent. I'm excited by what's happening in places like Nairobi, Kenya, Lagos, and Nigeria, Rwanda. We are so focused on what's happening here in South Africa. We think we'll be enough, but if you walk the streets of Nairobi, you'd be amazed. It's not what we think it is. We still fear apartheid conditions in South Africa.
Okay, cool. Next question.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jacques, I'm from Centre. Romeo, thank you for sharing your ideas and your wisdoms with us tonight. One thing that I was particularly interested in is when you pitched at the board of Metro FM at 26, and it's obviously you pitched an idea there, which they loved, and through your career, a lot of it is about selling ideas. And obviously you were on the receiving end of ideas when you were at the Shark Tank. But when you pitch ideas, what are the things that you look for to sell your ideas? Because selling ideas is what it's about in terms of building a business. So when you sell an idea, you yourself, how do you do that?
Look, you're always selling. Right now, you've just sold yourself. You're always selling. And investors are looking at it's not just about the business plan. So you get the numbers right, the idea has to be compelling, has to be innovative. So you tick all the right boxes. But it's really about your passion and your understanding of what you want to do. Whether you're in the boardroom selling to big investors, whether you're selling you're looking for seed funding, selling to family and friends, it's about your passion. It's the passion and the drive of what you want to do. The homework part of it, it's hygiene. You've got to tick all those boxes. The numbers, You obviously have to do enough research to ensure that it's in line with it's commercially sound, it's sustainable, it can make money, all of that. But selling is about you. The selling is about your passion. Selling is about your drive. Selling is about your vision. Selling is about people are buying your vision and where you want to take them. And so, any idea, it's people are buying you. People are buying the team. People are buying the complementary skills of the team. People are looking at how the team is gelling. Do you have commercial skills? Do you have technical skills? Do you have the right financial skills? But it's about the team. It's about the entrepreneur. It's not about the idea. Sometimes it doesn't really happen. You change along the way. But it's the entrepreneur. It's the drive.
Wow. Okay. Do we have another? You answered, right?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay,
Did I?
One more meter on it. Thank you.
I mean, you got to do your homework. You got to know what you're selling. You got to do the right numbers, and it depends. You're looking for seed funding. Are you looking for Series B funding? Are you in a growth phase? But the most important thing about selling is the person that's selling.
I think that's clear. Can we move on to the next question? Yes?
Hi Romeo, thanks for gracing us with your presence. My name is Felix, not quite from anywhere relevant just yet, but I'm getting there. So my question is more about numbers, and when someone is pitching to you, obviously every entrepreneur startup has their vision of what their cash flow and revenue would be. And I think that's a big thing sort of overlooked in startups, focusing on the idea and not figuring out the cash flow. So what are some of the things that convince you or that you look for that would assure you that the revenue or cash flow that they expect is actually going to be realized rather than it just being a pipe dream that they sort of pulled out from hope?
Look, ideas are in abundance. Everyone's an idea. I meet people in corridors, in supermarkets, everyone's got an idea. But it's the ability and the discipline to execute that idea. And it's a process. So you've got to make sure that your business planning in terms of cash flow projections, do you have a contract? Have you spoken to clients? Have you sold to anybody? Have you sold anything? Have you researched whether that product, is there a market for that product? And how big is the market? And people always overestimate the market. They always tell you the world, in the world there's so many billion people. And I always say start small. If you can sell one product and someone can buy the product, that's a good start before you even come to me to ask me this, or to anybody. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't even need capital. They think they need capital. Everyone says I need money, but actually you don't always need money to start a business. You need to sell your idea, your product, your service. If someone is willing to buy it, and if someone is willing to pay for it, there's already a business there. But if it's just floating around with an idea and a great PowerPoint presentation, get by PowerPoint, big problem. And so even when you ask entrepreneurs, what kind of capital are you looking for? They don't know. They think they need, they want to sell you equity, but they just need working capital, which you can find ways of getting. And so most entrepreneurs will give equity easily in the beginning, at the beginning of their business, and then later on they regret it. It's just, you need to figure out what kind of help you need. You need working capital. Do you need debt, or do you actually need an equity transaction? These are questions that you have to battle with as an entrepreneur and get advice, and get the right advice from people like Startup Grind and others.
Yeah. Do we have more questions? Can you please give me the mic? She's here in front.
I have the mic.
Okay, what is your name?
I'm going to be very quick. It's Danny from Investor. Two questions quickly, Romeo.
No, one question. It has to be one question.
All right. So looking at your background and where you started, initially when you started, were you aware, looking at particularly education, that the road that you traveled, were you aware that you're prepping yourself to transition from corporate to CEO initially when you started, looking at you went to Harvard and all that? And on top of that, and I just posing my second question in, when does an entrepreneur, how would you advise an entrepreneur if he's ready to take on board membership in a way, particularly, and I'm talking about external board membership, nothing within your own portfolio.
I don't understand the second question. I don't understand whether you need independent board members or not.
So as entrepreneurs, we, as you grow, you feel that you are ready to sit in other boards outside your own business. So the question is, would you advise it from an entrepreneur point of view that
No, I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise it. I'd say focus on building and growing your business. Did I know that I would end up here? No, I didn't. I wanted to study advertising, and when I told my parents I wanted to study advertising, they thought I was going to study to become a model. And I was in a sales house catalog. I was the first bunch of the black students that started at the AAA School of Advertising. And then along the way, you kind of plan and you grow. And as you grow, you need to fill up your toolbox. I talk about a toolbox of experiences and skills and expertise that you need to put in your toolbox. Whether it's educational qualifications, whether it's a specific skill, but I put more emphasis on experience and skills and technical skills. You need to know what you're really good at, and you need to know what you're not good at. That's very, very important in life. Don't drink your own Kool-Aid. And you can oversell to other people and you can punch above your weight, but you need to be honest with yourself and understand what you're really good at. And over time, you need to hone the skills, be financial skills, technical skills, commercial skills. And so it's important along the way to fill up your toolbox, understand the kind of skills and expertise that you, and if you don't have them, complement your skills. Find the right people who can complement you. If you're a commercial guy, but you're in the tech business, find the right technical partner to walk the journey with you. If you don't like numbers, you don't understand numbers, then find the right partner to walk the journey with you, who understands income statement, cash flow, how to use balance sheet, all of that, projections and all of that. So very, very, very important. So I didn't know that I'd be here, but I always knew that I wanted to make a difference, and I always knew that I wanted to live a life of purpose. And when you want to live a life of purpose, you then decide how you want to be remembered. And I know it's a very but today was the funeral of Hugh Masekela.
Yeah.
He was an entrepreneur, a musician, activist, and all of that. So you kind of decide how you want to be remembered, and you can see all what's happened today. So you've got to decide how you want to kind of be remembered and live a life of purpose. And that's what business is about. It's about, do you have a purpose? Are you driven? Are you passionate about this? If it's not a business or a life of purpose, then you're going to try this, try that, try this, try that, and I'll meet you this time around. You'll be selling me a tech business. Next time you'll be in construction. Next time you'll be selling me tiles, and there are quite a few of those guys.
Can we have a question please now?
My name is Tabs. I have been an entrepreneur since last 25 years. Have a lot of success stories behind me, but that I don't want to share. I just want to tell you that I had a very bad failure which was an airline in South Africa. So I want to know about your one failure. If that failure, you see, actually changed my life, not financially, but obviously morally, and you know, failing with the project which was I was most passionate about. So when you talk about passion, I just want to understand what was your one failure?
So failure is important. We all hate it, but it's very, very important. And you cannot allow failure to define you. But it's very, very important. In South Africa, we have a different culture. If you fail, people laugh at you, and people tend to give up too easily. But failure is critical to become a successful entrepreneur. And you need to learn from it, pick yourself up, and make things happen. So, my big failure, my first failure, many moons ago, I invested in a spa supermarket. And I knew nothing about retail. Bad positioning, just a bad investment. And I was young, cost me a lot of money. Lots of school fees paid. But I learned. I've had many other failures, but this was the first one. And every time I go back to it, over and over again, very, very important. I had one the other day, actually. But you learn. Very, very important. You've got to go back and understand what went wrong. Discuss it with other people, learn from it, and pick yourself up.
And what are some of those?
It's a critical part of successful entrepreneurs.
What are some of those lessons from failing, might be from investing in the wrong businesses, or was it maybe you didn't do enough research, or there was just not enough information available for you regarding that particular business?
A lot of times, there's a lot of craze now about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and I mean, I'm a great believer in the blockchain technology. But I see a lot of people now, taking their savings and just buying and not understanding what they're doing. And so it's really about understanding what you're investing in.
Yes.
And doing enough research, and really just having a clear vision and a business case in your head about what you want to achieve. I mean, I can't emphasize more than that. It's the homework that needs to be done.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So my failures in the early days were just around not doing enough homework. And we all, when you're young and passionate, you're after quick.
Just excited. Opportunities just excite you from our end.
Well, everyone says 10x, 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 and so you just want to put it in.
Yeah.
And after reading the 10x books, we all think that the next investment is going to be 10x. Very difficult, but 95% of startups fail in South Africa. 95% of startups fail in South Africa. Only 5% make it.
Can there be something done though in terms of support to these startups that are failing? I mean, that's not a huge number. And from your side, what is it that you're doing to encourage especially the education side of it?
The South African economy is not geared towards assisting entrepreneurs. It's very difficult in South Africa to become an entrepreneur. Very difficult to raise funding. Very difficult to get the right mentorship. But in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of effort from government, mainly from the private sector. A lot of companies are investing in entrepreneurship and innovation, in startup hubs, and bringing entrepreneurs into the companies, and really investing in how to help young entrepreneurs and mentor people. I think the key critical lever that we can pull in South Africa is mentorship. So I'm a firm believer in mentorship. I still have mentors now. And I was brought up by people who believed in me, whether it's in corporate or business. And so mentorship is everything. You need a second voice. You need somebody that can guide you and hold your hand. More than the capital, you need mentors. So for me, there's a lot that we can do, both in the private sector and in government, to help entrepreneurs to, people don't even know how to put together a business plan. And where do you go? You're sitting in somewhere in Tembisa, you want to put together, you've got a great idea, but you just don't know where to go to. And so I think that a lot can be done, but a lot is being done.
Yes.
It just needs to be, the whole ecosystem needs to work. Because it's not just about raising capital. It's about mentorship. It's about holding people's hands around understanding the financials. It's about holding people's hands around understanding access to market, distribution, sales and marketing. And really enabling people to learn those skills so that they can pull the right levers to get their businesses going.
Yeah. You've touched a little on the business plan, and there's been a lot of debates about entry-level entrepreneurs saying, no, you don't need a business plan. You just need your idea and just kickstart. How vital is a business plan in 2018, for a new entry-level entrepreneur?
It depends on the idea. I mean, if you are in the digital space, it really depends on the idea. It depends on how much you're asking for. If you're asking for seed capital, you can go to family and friends, convince family and friends working around with your laptop and raise money. If you're asking for investors to put in R1 million into your business, 5 million rand, 10 million rand, then you need the right business plan. You're going to go to any institutions to raise capital from the IDC, from the ADF, any of those institutions. They're going to ask you for a business plan.
Yes.
So it's key, but it really depends on the kind of business that you want to go into.
And now on the subject of mentorship, I hear you saying it's very important to always have somebody hold your hand and push you forward. But then how do you make sure that as a mentee, you're actually listening to your mentor, or you are, is there a word called mentorable? With the lack of a better way. Because some people will just come to you just because they just want to get close to you, or they just want you to do research on their behalf, and they don't really put in the work. And they would then use it as if, use the word mentorship instead. How do you make sure that this person is mentorable? That word exists.
Look, you don't just pick famous people or people that you think. You've got to pick the right mentor. So and it's a two-way street. We learn from each other. And you've got to pick the right mentor. You've got to be open to constructive criticism. You have to. It's a two-way stream. You really have to pick somebody who you know is going to bring the kind of skills and expertise that you require in your business or in your life. And so picking the right mentor is very, very important. And it's somebody that people that have the kind of skills, expertise, values, that you share. Because also it's about values. If you pick people because you've seen them on television or you heard about them, that's not. You've got to pick the right mentor.
Yeah. And I want to talk now about Khumalo. You've just recently joined them, right? And you found tech startups. Just tell us briefly more about that. Tell us.
Well, Kellen is previously was branded Grow Tech, so we've just rebranded to Kellen, and it's really a VC 12J fund. We've got close to 100 billion, where we fund tech startups looking for growth.
Okay.
I serve on the board with Gil Spelling, Gil Avet, and pretty interesting the kind of businesses that we see.
And then do you always just give them money, or is there other additional support that you give them?
No, we don't just give money, and I don't think if you're just looking for money, you can go to a bank, you can go to institutions, but we give money and expertise, skills, help you to open new markets, and really hold your hand. But we're always looking for good management teams with business that have a moat, and of course good return on capital employed.
Interesting. Now I want to touch a little bit on this year of family man. How do you balance your own personal life and your business and your family as well? Is there such thing as balance?
I don't think any entrepreneur here knows anything about balance. I mean, if anyone really can tell me that they know anything about balance. Yeah, I mean, it's what we strive.
How do you make it work then?
How do we, it's very difficult. I have a wife, 3 small children, 13-year-old, 6-year-old, and 4-year-old. She's a businesswoman in her own right. And we try, you try and balance. I run, so I get to keep a nice, healthy mind. And there's a lot of similarities in running marathons and in business.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to try but it's important to keep it balanced. But talk to any entrepreneur, but balance is very few. But it's very, very important.
Do we have 2 more questions for you? Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to take her. Hi.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Hanika from Stylishi Mama. I actually had like 5 questions, so it was a bit difficult to choose which one, but luckily a couple got asked. So if you could take all of the knowledge you have now and go back to when you just started your career and give yourself one piece of solid advice, what would it be?
Just one.
Okay, no, you can give more, it's fine.
Okay.
And also, is your 4-year-old a girl or a boy? Sorry, I know you said not 2 questions, but that's a quick.
My 4-year-old is a girl.
Yeah, I do mention mom and daughter clothes also. If you want to give me my time,
Yes, you could. Okay. You can answer.
Best advice. You start saving early. Really it is. I look back on all, the funds I wasted in material, frivolous crap. I should have started investing much younger in my life. So that's advice to moi. At 9, I started my first job. I was 14 years of age. I started working at the CNA, the Culture Center. That was my first job at the record bar. I went to the manager, asked for a job. I said, yeah, you want to run the record bar? Yeah. So I used to play Depeche Mode, Aha, Tears for Fears. And I was the man there, and then my mom got me a job at a pick and pay packing out in Mondio. It was hard, man. Next time you see all those groceries at a pick and pay, have respect for the people who are packing going in. But I think it's more automated now, but it was hard. And next job, these are student jobs, but they're important. I was a waiter at a Pizza Hut in Hillbrow. Of course, Hillbrow was different. But I loved that job. It's the first job that taught me how to sell. It was the first time that Pizza Hut in Hillbrow accepted a student, part-time. So I was a part-time waiter. All the other waiters were full-time waiters. So I was working on a com, as a student. So the first time I had to kind of sell myself to people coming at the door. So I used to look at the families coming in, think, okay, they can pay better tips. Let me go. And I used to knock off at night. My friends used to come there at 11 o'clock to come and pick up a pizza because I was entitled to a pizza every night. I hated it. But I had a great time. And my manager at a Pizza Hut in Hillbrow was Beth. I don't know why she hired me, because I don't think she liked me. She was always shouting at me. And she was always going, I don't think she even knew my name. She was, this student, this student. And I loved it, because I learned my first selling skills. It's an important job. And then of course I was in telesales. I did a whole lot of other part-time jobs as a student. But it taught me the value of money. I didn't invest it. And my parents really encouraged it early on to work part-time as a student. And so I think it's very, very important that you learn selling skills. Because whatever you do, you're selling. Whether you're presenting to investors, your results, you're presenting to the board, you are the CEO of Apple, you're launching the new Apple iPhone, you are Mark Zuckerberg, you're talking to the new feature on Facebook, you are selling. And if you can't sell, you shouldn't be around.
Do you think, though, that it's vital? Because some entrepreneurs are good at making the product and they don't have the selling skills. So do you think it's vital for every entrepreneur to learn how to sell?
No, you need the complementary skills.
Okay.
Somebody in your team needs to know how to sell.
Okay.
So you have technical boffins sitting in the back making the software, and somebody in your team needs to know how to go out there and market and sell your product. Very, very important.
Yes. No, that's good. Okay, we're gonna take one more question. Yeah. Go ahead. You don't have to run. Speak louder. If you really want to ask a question, you can speak louder.
Hi everybody, can you all hear me?
Yeah, I'm gonna come this side. Guys, you're confusing me now.
Hi everybody, my name is Patrick. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been all my life. The most challenging route one can choose. Now my question to you is, would you assist or would you invest in a wounded lion? and I knew you were going to laugh at this one. You spoke about the challenges that are national challenges. But at the end of the day, those challenges are affecting entrepreneurs. And those are the people that are supposed to employ, the people that we say are not employed. And I work now in my company called Premier Consulting, where I'm assisting small businesses as well, using the history and the experience that I've gained in my life to move them from inception to prosperity. And that is a long journey. I first have to deal with the mentality of the entrepreneur himself or herself. I have to move into where the challenges in the business are, if I can give my advice and perhaps a mentorship as well. And what I find is so many of, especially people of my age and above, are wounded lions. The banks don't like you, you're probably blacklisted. Whenever you're going to pitch your idea, the challenges, but you've got this bad history in your life. And I feel that makes people to not see the quality of the experience you have gained out of those wounds. Would you invest in such a lion? Thank you.
I mean, we all come from the school of hard knocks. You know, I mean, you fall, you pick yourself up. And of course, there's a certain history in this country. And we know the history in this country. And given that not all of us come from privilege, there is history of blacklisting, you know, the Edgar's account that wasn't paid 20 years ago, the criminal record of something, you know, some 500 rand that wasn't, you know, whatever. Entrepreneurship is not about looking at it, it's about overcoming those challenges. So, you know, would I check your record in terms of blacklisting? We obviously do the necessary checks. Banks will do that if you ask them for funding, but that can't hold you back. I mean, nothing should hold you back. And so I just think that you've got to find a way of overcoming your challenges and not letting your past really define the person that you want to become. I know it's very difficult, it's hard. I mean, you know, I've met entrepreneurs who are in the valley of death, what I call the valley of death. So, you know, when you run Comrades Marathon, I've done 2 Comrades marathons, hoping to do another one this year. When you get to about 70 Ks, anyone who's run Comrades, yeah?
I wish.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you get to, before you even get to polish shorts, when you get, there's a valley of death, and some people experience it at 65 Ks. So that determines whether you're going to finish or not. At about 65, 75 Ks, it's when the rubber hits the road. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's just this wall. You just hit the wall. And remember, you've trained a whole year. You've trained you've woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning. All the training, the effort to be there, and the discipline to get up every morning. And it's about 65, 75 K. You just hit a wall, and it all comes down to, am I going to pick myself up out of this valley of death and kind of make it? Ask anybody who's run Comrades, man, and they'll tell you. There's a point where it's about just, and once you get over, runners are crazy people. They are. Just like entrepreneurs. Yeah. There's something is going to be kind of, to be an entrepreneur. I mean, look at you guys are here tonight. You should be at home with your families. And runners the same. At 4 o'clock in the morning, they're busy running around the streets of South Africa training for Comrades. When you get to the valley of death, you have to pick yourself up. And it's about that motivation of, what did I sign up for? What did I sign up to achieve? You've got to see the dream, you've got to see the, and someone was asking me, so what do you see in your head? I see the medal, I see the sub-9 medal, I see the Bill Rowan, I see myself getting into the stadium and shouting, and I see people screaming, and I think about the motivation of, why did I sign up? Why did I start? And so you got to finish. You have to finish. It's not a debate. You can discuss with yourself and feel sorry for yourself and cry, have a little cry. You've got to finish. And so, with all the challenges that go with becoming an entrepreneur and making it, it's what drives you and the motivation that will help you finish.
Okay, now I'm taking one question from the side, and I'll take you as well. No. Question the side. Just speak up louder, the mic is on.
This is the day my voice is not working, but I'll try. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Zoya Mabuto. I'm CEO of a company called Zoya Speaks. So I'm a professional speaker by trade. My question to you is, I'm also a mother of little people, okay? And I look at this wonderful world that we live in and the way in which it is going. I look at millennials who, who latch onto technology and who run with things at like such a fast pace. And then I look at where we come from historically, where I wasn't exposed to any business, the running of a business and the like. And so I step out as an entrepreneur, and everything is elementary. I don't have an understanding of how a business runs. I can speak, but I'm not a businesswoman, I'm not a CEO. So the question I have is, how do we proactively, as moms and dads, how do we proactively create an environment where our kids have exposure to the world that we're moving into? That it doesn't happen that my child is now 25 or 30 years old, decides I want to pursue entrepreneurship, and it's starting from the base again. So how do we prepare our own kids in a proactive and very practical way to make sure that this wonderful world that's running very fast, they can catch up with it, that they can be part of it as entrepreneurs in a South Africa and in Africa that requires more entrepreneurs? Does that make sense?
Yes. Wow. You speak so well, by the way.
So, have a culture of entrepreneurship. And let me be specific here. In some communities, and you have to start in the kitchen. You have to teach your kids about. Think about where did you start learning about money, about managing your own money? When you got in debt many years later. And so it's about, inculcating a culture of entrepreneurship in your home with your kids. Teaching them about money, teaching them about investing earlier on, and discussing it around the table. Remember, we grew up in homes where when they were discussing money, they'd go to the bedroom and shut the door, and the kids were on the other side. You can't do that. And of course, the millennials are different now. I mean, in the digital age, everything is on the internet. And so I think you start teaching kids earlier on how to invest. And I don't really think you can teach kids about entrepreneurship. You can teach them about business and investing, but entrepreneurship is different. Entrepreneurship is driven by the passion, the drive, the resilience, all of that. But business and investing, money, it's stuff that you need to talk about around the kitchen table and values. And so, yeah, that's my response. I mean, it's about the kind of culture and values that we want to instill in young people around business.
Amazing. Smart question, yeah.
Good day, everyone.
Hi.
Romeo, you speak of creating an ecosystem where government collaborates with business just to enable a platform that enables stimulation of high impact social projects and opportunities which are highly scalable as well. You speak of scalability quite a lot. With that in mind, what then is your thought around social enterprises?
I love social enterprises. I love businesses that have a social impact. So we talk about financial inclusion, and if you look at some of the digital businesses that have really taken off on the African continent, service like M-Pesa in Kenya and Tanzania, has really made a huge difference in people's lives. Remember, your ideas have to solve a societal problem. If you're solving a societal problem, and you've got a great idea, and you are making a social impact, the commercial success will come. But you have to solve a problem. That's what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs solve a problem. They look at society, they say, what problem do I need to solve? And they become innovators, and they come up with innovative ideas, they disrupt markets, and you don't always have to disrupt. You can complement the service. And so everyone thinks that you have to come up with this disruptive idea to really make it. No, you can complement the service. But what is really important is to come up with ideas that are solving societal problems, that are making a social impact. And in the long term, commercial success will come.
I absolutely agree with you on that. We have actually come to the end of our fireside chat. Unfortunately, because all good things come to an end. No, sit. Okay, so just to wrap up, out of everything that you have achieved, what is that one thing that you value most in your life? That when you're looking at it, you feel so much joy and fulfillment.
My greatest achievement is my family. That's the greatest achievement. That's my greatest achievement. And it gives me so much joy when I look into the eyes of my kids. in the end, that's what it's all about.
And just to wrap up before we let you go, what advice do you have for up-and-coming entrepreneurs who, some of them are probably stuck. They don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, or they feel like they don't have enough resources to actually get themselves out of it. What advice do you have for those?
Look, I mean, I meet a lot of young people, entrepreneurs, who are really finding it difficult to raise capital, gain access to market, and want to just open doors. Somebody's been trying to break through into ABSA, or into Standard Bank, Vodacom, MTN, and the one thing that one really great piece of advice that is not, that you heard before, this is not unique, you can't give up.
Yeah.
You can't give up. And I know it's not magic. I'm not telling you something that you don't know. I'm not giving you some, Warren Buffett code. This is, no. You simply cannot be loved. If you believe in your idea and you believe in your dream and you believe in your vision, you simply cannot give up. I know it's sometimes, it just looks impossible, but you can't give up. It's going to happen. And so you ask me for, what advice do I have for young people who are running around for access and funding and all of that? It's, if you believe in it, just keep at it. You fall, you pick yourself up, you learn from your failures, and you never give up.
On behalf of Startup, the whole team, and everyone who's here, thank you so much for joining us. And I wish you all the best. Cullen, Washarika, and everything that you're going to be involved in.
Thank you very much. It's really been a great, honor and privilege to be here. And I'm not the one to give advice. And the reason I don't do that is because I don't think I'm yet where I want to be. I'm not successful. And it's quite a strange thing when I hear people on stage talk like you just said no. So it's like no, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I feel like I've just started a new life. I'm 45. I've got another 45 years to go. And so no, I'm not successful. I feel like I'm 20 again. And it's just, when you just look at the new digital world, I wish I was born, now, because of the digital age of the internet. And so, for the first time in history, you could be sitting somewhere in Khayelitsha, you can compete with a guy sitting in Silicon Valley, because you've got access to the same information on the internet. The vast majority of Africans are going to experience connectivity for their first time on their mobile phones. And so this is an exciting time to be an entrepreneur, guys.